My tap dance life.
Pre-TRI.
Pre-2011, what was I doing?
Well, I was born in 1984.
Okay.
I kind of got to give the backstory a little bit.
My name is Allison Toffan, and this is Juliana Kelly. Together we produce Toronto Rhythm Initiative, and we are so happy you are all here with us. This is a full house. We are so excited. Look at all of you beautiful people. Thank you for coming. I really was interested in building community in Toronto, and I didn't know how to do that yet. But I did want a sense of a scene more than what we had.
There was definitely a sense of community in the tap world as a whole, but in terms of what was going on in Toronto, none of us knew each other. So there were a lot of tap dancers, but we didn't have a community. And I didn't meet most of those people until TRI became a thing.
There wasn't a whole bunch of people to connect to in Toronto as tap dancers, so I started working at the Rex, which is a jazz bar. So that's where I met my friend Nathan Hiltz, Morgan Childs, Chris Banks, among tons of other musicians that have been a part of TRI.
So here's the question. How could we get a bunch of people from a bunch of different backgrounds to come together on this one thing?
Travis and I we really tried to produce jams and nobody came. For a while, nobody came.
You and I did a lot of talking about that, about how hard it was to get something going in Toronto, to get a community together, that there were small sanctions or groups of people, but mostly not really groups, just people doing their own thing a little bit all over the place. And we talked a lot about what it would take to bring the community together when you were here. And I really didn't have great hopes when you went back to Toronto. I thought, okay, more power to you. Good luck. That's not an easy scene to pull together.
I spent some time in New York City. I was there for 2 years, and I moved to Toronto just after being in New York, starting very late with my studies in my 20s. Moved to New York and studied for 2 years there. When I came to Toronto, I immediately tried to hook into the scene, and I found Paula Skimmon and Marianne Hopkins. I started teaching in 2009 in the biggest drop-in in the city, which was City Dance Corps.
2010, Dianne Montgomery produces this incredible workshop for Savion Glover.
I started to watch when people would come through, and Allie Bradley came through with Stomp. I produced a workshop with her, and then I saw Savion was coming through, and I reached out. To my great surprise, they said, yeah, sure, let's do it.
Suddenly there's 20 of us in a circle. A lot of us had never met before. And I went, what? Why? So that was the forefront of seeing all these people interested. Everyone was totally nice. Everybody was into the same thing. I said, hey, who wants to come over and jam? Because I created a little jam spot in my house. And that was the beginning of it. And then we went to every 2 weeks, and then we went to every week. And this all happened at Mad for Dance, downtown Toronto, this awesome, dirty, amazing little basement where we created magic.
I'm from Toronto, so when I left in 81, there was virtually no tap at all. I mean, well, that's not true. Bill Orlowski had his company. But it was a different kind of style of tap. And it was the only tap I had ever seen, really, that was concert tap.
The need to create more came from two very major events. So one was Jimmy Slyde at the Art of Jazz Festival, which was a beautiful jazz festival in the Distillery District. The following day there was a clinic, and it was only $30, and it was only myself and David Cox. Those were the only tap dancers there. Beyond that being shocking to me, there were two pieces of Marley on the floor, and they wouldn't let Dr. Jimmy Slyde tap dance on the beautiful wood floors that were there for him. And I was mortified. So I made it a personal mission to myself at that point that I wouldn't let that happen again. This workshop should be full, and he should know Toronto to be a place that would embrace what he has to offer, not give him a piece of plastic and say, do your thing. Heather Cornell was in town with Andy Milne. I had been chasing moments to meet Heather, but hadn't got a chance to meet her yet. So that was the time that I had met her, and that was in 2008. 2 years in a row, major tap dance players, masters are coming through. Jimmy Slyde died the following year. You know, like, nobody can come to Toronto and have this kind of response. I had to do something.
My current role in TRI is as a co-producer for pretty much all the projects that we do. I came on as co-producer in 2016. We always joke that Allison is the vision and I'm the spreadsheet. But before that, I was a contributing member. I was somebody who went to all the jams, took class, and participated in most of the shows. Allison and I met in 2010, I believe, and she was choreographing a piece for a show called Women in Dance with her friend Rebecca, who I knew from my previous tap experience. Before TRI, I was dancing in a few pre-professional tap dance companies, and for about 4 years, I wasn't really doing anything. I was dancing on my own, I was teaching, practicing on my own, but I wasn't really dancing with anybody outside of myself. And then TRI came about and I started going to jams and hanging out with everybody.
Like just before 2011, we were already out in Texas. We went there in 2010. And before that I was in Montreal. And a little bit before that, you were still in Montreal and we had Dynamic Souls.
Right.
Our little fantastic tap dance company out there.
Yeah, once upon a time we had a tap dance company called Dynamic Souls, and it was really the beginning of a dream that's still unfolding.
I had just completed my first tour with Tap Dogs and had also come off the high of doing the Olympics with so many special people who were part of the TRI. And it was, an interesting time where you're riding all these big achievements for yourself in your career at a young age, and you find yourself back in your hometown driving the Zamboni.
I was going to a lot of festivals, trying to take as much class as possible. But at the same time as that, I was teaching 7 days a week, like 5-6 hours a day. It was nonstop.
My tap dance life before TRI started was pretty much me, myself, and I in my basement, on my makeshift 4x8 sheets of plywood. Sometimes my dog would join, would get in the way, but other than that, that was pretty much it. It wasn't, I was going through a stale moment for sure. I didn't perform for a lot of years.
Before TRI, I was in Edmonton. I tried to set up a jam in Edmonton, and I was trying to dance as much as I could with other people. It was just tough because it was Edmonton at the time too. There wasn't a lot of people executing it at a high level or interested too.
Before TRI, I was dancing with Kathy Duncan's Downbeats company. And I hadn't yet moved to Toronto. And Kathy's company was rehearsing sometimes in the same spot that TRI was happening. So I was introduced to the jams through Kathy, through after our rehearsals. I would stick around timidly at first. Because I didn't have as much of a relationship with improvisation, and I saw all these really amazing dancers who I was intimidated by, who were jamming together.
I'd grown up a competitive dancer since I was 5, so that was my whole life, and I hadn't really been exposed to dance outside of that, and especially tap dance outside of that.
The opportunities to be a tap dancer, and if I wanted to do more, weren't going to be in my hometown. So I reached out to Johnny, and we talked to each other and made the bold decision that with zero understanding of what it was going to take, we were going to travel across the country. And knowing that you were there with other tap dancers in a collective already, we were excited for the opportunity to come.
When I moved to Toronto, it was just one of the biggest reasons was I was hoping that there was a community there. I was hoping there was people that wanted to shuffle, and just not a lot of activity in Edmonton at the time. A lot of the events in Edmonton were just based off doing a festival, and there was a recital show at the festival and stuff. It wasn't just at the time. There was a lot of classes being put on, but formative. There was a lot of empty spaces. You know what I mean? It was just, again, there wasn't a lot of people people executing. So when I came here, it was nice to have something to come to. That was the biggest thing. It was like, okay, so there's a tangible group or like collective or whatever we wanted to call it. And it was, okay, so we have a jam on, but it was on the Sundays. Yeah, it was just great to walk into a room full of tap dancers.
When I think about the inception of TRI and what it was like to be a part, I mean, I'm sure folks have referenced that Savion workshop as being an important first place where it was like such a light, such an incredible bright light. Savion descended and we all were drawn to it like moths. We all like came out, and I just didn't quite realize there were so many other moths in the area. It was awesome. That to see everybody together in a room is one thing, but to have the vision, which I think Allison had, and the closeness that comes from being in a basement, you know, crazy, dirty, cheap basement every single week together, like breathing each other's sweat molecules.
And it was just the perfect timing. You know, we started hitting those weekly jams on Sunday. And I remember, Toff, when you said to us one time, guys, you think we should maybe make it every Sunday and not every other? And I was like, yes, let's go, you know?
Everyone would go about their week. Like, people were all these different jobs. Some people were full-time tap dancers and teachers and all that, but some people were like bartenders, some people were whatever. But it's like, at the end of the day, like, everyone would drop what they're doing, like, no matter what type of week you had, no matter what was going on Monday morning, like, everyone would come down to the city.
I think there's a bonding that happens there that is like, you know, the weekly meeting. These aren't just people that you see every once in a while or whatever, but we really all pulled out the stops to show up every week. We were really there together.
And it was just growing so fast. Like, I remember, like, people like Johnny McKenzie, like, moved out from Alberta. Like, everyone was, like, coming down. Like, the shows were just getting bigger and bigger every single time.
Tap dance is rooted in jazz music. They grew up together. Tap dance is music, so there would be no way that I would ever be cool with producing if it wasn't live with musicians. So it's a collaborative relationship, and that is deeply rooted in tap dance's history. So that is something that we are committed to voicing and developing and sharing.
I think it's really deepened my perspective on jazz rhythm and how it relates to dance specifically. Like, if you think about really the history of the music, it's really dance music, not just up until the start of the bebop era, which is what a lot of people say, but it goes further beyond that. It's kind of always been dance music. And being able to relate what I do to dancers has kind of deepened my own understanding of rhythm in general, I think.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, for me, for the guitar, you know, the guitar is, in Spanish history was like a real important part of accompanying dancers, you know, but the jazz guitarists don't do that so much. So, you know, one of my favorite shows that we ever did was the one with the flamenco people, and that set me off on discovering this whole world of guitar and dance relationship, you know.
Your idea to focus on specific artists that have touched all of our lives, just like brought it, you correct me if I'm wrong, but it brought us all to the table with excitement. I want to do it. I don't know. I want to do this one. No, this is my song. It's like, and you know, doing it to live music, having the opportunity to create something truly special, truly unique, and for that one specific occasion, it's just like, once again, this like flashpoint in time that I can't forget.
I mean, I know the TV show was one of the higher attended ones, but there was a few where like there was like people rapping around the building and stuff. Like it was like lines. It was just different. Like people that were there, it was. I just feel like I don't know. It was. I don't know what it was, but it was nuts.
I'll never forget. I'll never forget that first one. Like, it was so crazy, especially the fact that it was in Canada, like in Toronto. Because prior to that, it's like, you know, there's stuff like this going on in like Chicago and New York, but like the fact that this was in Canada was so crazy.
I think like being a part of TRI at the beginning was really cool because Brian Foley actually was the one who like brought me to a jam the first time, and so like meeting everyone there, and I was like so intimidated. I had never really improvised before, and then just being like accepted and helped in a situation where I was very uncomfortable was really nice. And then seeing it develop into like the shows was really cool because we all just kind of like You know, it was built on the back of everybody who just wanted to dance. Being a part of a whole tap dance show in a tap dance community where everyone just loves tap dance was, I think, part of the reason why it was an easy choice for me to choose tap dance.
I think you tied in the educational aspect of it in a really innovative way. And like the way that it's at first I was like, how is she gonna get a bunch of student kids to like perform for real? It's gonna be chaos. But now it feels really natural because you have them you just have them so encultured with it. I don't know what the word is. Like they're like professional acting artists, musicians, musicians able to interact with us on a high level for being, young teenagers.
Mm-hmm. First of all, it's just an amazing community of people. And before I went my first year, I didn't really know anybody in that community. And I met Ryan, and I originally went to a jam that was just a few people, and it was a live music jam, and I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to count bars. I didn't know like 0% of anything, and it was just so impactful for me to have you hold my hand, literally hold my hand and tell me how to count and how to hear it. And then I got to go to the program and learn more about that.
Being a part of TRI has influenced every aspect of my life, pretty much. It really was the first time that all of my musical knowledge and my knowledge in dance kind of came together. I joined the rhythm ensemble because of it, which changed my dancing, and then I started learning Eddie Brown material because of it, which has now led me to working with Heather Cornell as she teaches Eddie Brown Lost Routine sessions on Zoom, which has just been super cool and really eye-opening and has completely changed the way I dance.
I was in it when we were in the basement studio with the pillars in it, and I would come every Sunday. My mom would brave the downtown Toronto drive and complain about it every week, and I loved it. We would do an hour with a guest, which I think was really interesting, getting to meet so many people, and I saw the connection that you had with everyone, and everyone was just always so excited to see people, and that was so fun for me as a kid, that there was this little community and I could be part of it one day, because I was only 12, right? So I was young, and that was something that I really loved about that community, because I grew up competitively, right? So you stick with your little group the whole time you compete, but this was a whole new group of people coming from kind of everywhere. And then even Travis's podcast, I remember being, 13, 14 and going home and listening to it because I just took class with him and I was starstruck. I think TRI really, you instilled that need to respect the people who came before you, or the people who, helped create the dance in a different way. So TRI has been instrumental in my growth as a tap dancer for sure.
Most of the tap dancers around were in the same room at the same time for the first time. And I know we all felt this, we need this more. We need to hang out with each other more. We need to dance with each other more. Though through those jams, that's when my improv and my voice and my language as far as dancing goes started to really change and really develop.
I was grateful to be brought into a professional community that was nurturing itself. And it wasn't like you guys were sitting on your haunches waiting for me to come in. You were busy doing stuff. And then I got thrown into the mix. And that, I think, is a much healthier way of developing a professional scene than to create some kind of weird distinction between, us and you. That would have just been silly if I had come in as, oh, here's Heather Cornell, shut up and listen. It didn't. It's not that's not what I had with my mentors. I was on stage with them and I hung out with them, and we partied and we played and we worked in the studio and we worked hard and we played hard. So that was more offered more of that kind of a community.
The excitement of being around people. We come from Montreal. The excitement of being around a critical mass of people who are tap dancers one of the magic points of that TRI was the center of is like a bunch of tap dancers from all over the country were converging on Toronto, living there, and this thing was happening. And I don't know, I remember coming back from Tapestry Dance Company and just, I think the word is just happy. I remember just being happy and dancing and just like, you know, that's the extent of the thought, happiness.
The things that would stand out the most to me over the last 10 years of TRI would be community. And that's something that's so important to me and has always drawn me to tap dance, is this really interesting community and especially this community that we've created in Toronto. Just all the laughs we've had at jams, at shows, but I don't know that there was one moment that has particularly stood out to me, just this overwhelming sense of finding my people.
When I think about those times, I think about how special it was, this sense of being pushed by my peers, and also to another degree, like the sense of belonging in a community. Pretty incredible. That's what I say tap dance has given me. Just, that's one of the great gifts of tap dance, I think, just generally speaking. It has given me many things, but community, I think, being the thing that matters the most to me.
Yeah, being a part of the TRI community, it became family for me. I felt like I belonged, and I felt so proud of our community because there was a diversity of belonging.
I consider myself to be more of an educator than a performer, and the amount of knowledge I've gained from my peers through TRI, through jams, through classes, through all the experiences that we've had have really shaped who I am as a teacher and what's important to me to pass on to the next generation. Finding the community of peers that I have has been so valuable to me, and everything that I've learned, that I feel like I've really learned, has been through our TRI community, through jams, through classes, through shows, and now coming on as a co-producer and learning more about producing. So TRI is my best friends.
I think one of the things that a lot of folks have felt who do not have strong communities around them is that it's really hard to work in a vacuum. It introduced me to the Canadian tap scene because I hadn't grown up here. So really importantly, the work of Heather Cornell, I got kind of turned on to that through TRI, and I know I would not have come to her as quickly. Maybe I would have found my way there eventually, but to kind of have an intimate understanding right off the bat from such close connection and contact with Heather, that's been life-changing.
I truly do believe that some of the best dancers in the world are Canadian, and I think it's because of who we are. And so I've always had a real strong need and desire to mentor Canadians, not just show up and make money on workshops. But in terms of being in for the long haul, I feel like these what we did with TRI allowed me to come in and be who I am as a performer and as a teacher and as a mentor.
TRI was such a great time of exploration, like just being a part of that community. I'm forever grateful that we were all able to come together and just dance and grow.
Meeting you guys at that Savion workshop, and then what you did from there on in, starting at TRI, I'm telling you, it literally saved me. Like, because everything I do now as a tap dancer and as a person comes from the way I am now and how I feel content with where I am because of what's happened in the last 10 years. I swear to God, it's been a game changer, not only for me as a tap dancer, but just as being a happy person and helping me find my way. Literally, like, I really mean that. I know it's who I am. Like, before TRI, dude, I literally was like, I hung my shoes up and I went to work at the Honda plant in Allison, taking rims off of a conveyor belt because I was so sick of where I was. I wasn't fulfilled, that I was done. I was ready to finish. I was like, I can't. Even though I knew that's who I was, I just wasn't in that right spot. And then that day I met you guys, and then the ball just started rolling. So when I say it changed me and it saved my life, I'm not even exaggerating one bit.
I feel the biggest accomplishment is the fact that we've done it. We've been around this is our 11th year. The fact that there is a community, there is a scene. We have done what was set out to be. We have done what was set out to be done. How do you say that? We accomplished what we set out to do. We have created so much material through all the shows that we have created. We have a youth community that they've just continued to grow, whether they come in and go out or whether they stick with us year after year, and now they're young professionals. So we've created this multi-generational unit by bringing in guests and mentors and people older than us, bringing up people younger than us. We've created an audience so that when people from TRI branch off and do their own thing, there's an audience for them already there, and they continue to build their own audience in their own voice. We have created a support system that is so strong and tight-knit. I feel like the biggest accomplishment is now, yes, if anybody comes through here visiting on a show, they have dancers to dance with. They have people that will take their class. There is a very strong sense of community now in Toronto with tap shoes on. The people of TRI have made me who I am, like 100%. I have made every mistake. I have gone through so much vulnerable space with these people. They have become my best friends. They've become my colleagues, my collaborators, my teachers. They're my everything. TRI was the most foundational experience for me in producing. So figuring out how I wanted to go about continuing to build, right? Continuing to build shows on my own, who I wanted to work with, how I wanted to put things together. Like it has been so foundational for me in every sense of the word. Personally, artistically, TRI has been everything to me.
World with broken toes, from my missteps and tortured souls. I learned my way, breaking every bone. Now I see all these aches and make you grow. And every fall has a rise, every burn has a flame. From foolish to wise, we all bruise the same. Growing pains when the storm wind blows. I'm the weather vane. Now I'm made with what remains. A thick skin, knowing it's just growing pains. I cut my teeth till I taste the way. My empty mouth finds the words to say. All the things I found being chipped away, and all the ways I built from how I pray. And every laugh has a cry, every loss has a gain. From foolish to wise, we all bruise the same.